For every adventure, the podcast that dives deep into everything outdoor.
In today's episode, we're covering rock climbing, which is great. So even if you're a beginner and you've only done, a little wall somewhere and you think maybe the outdoors is not for me, you're going to get a lot of info today.
And even if you're not a beginner, what's the thing before beginner, like where I am? We're going to give you all the tips. For Kuba, our guest today, is going to give you a lot of tips about how to get started, a few things to keep in mind, products you need. There's a lot of information, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
For every adventure, an outdoor podcast experience brought to you by Outdoor Warehouse.
We have a fun episode today, Chanel. It's the last one for 2023, so really excited. And the treat we give you, our gift, is rock climbing.
Yes, it's an exciting one. I can almost see you getting into this sport, Carl.
Yes, I just need to be 100% more fit. And there's a big mental aspect to it, and I can't wait to get into that because obviously physically it's a big challenge.
Yes. But you've got the long legs and arms going, so I think this could work.
I don't know. I'm not good with balance at all.
Oh, you're saying is it enough though?
Yeah, well, I think if you train hard enough for anything, you can do it if you put your mind to it.
Tried it?
Never. Have you?
Well, I'm a bit too old for that wall in the spur and in the kiddies area.
Oh, in the kiddies area. Okay, but there are bigger walls.
Which I think is great, by the way, for the kids to try. But sometimes you're like, that little one shouldn't be going up there.
It does seem like chaos, from the outside.
It's chaos. But I have sons, and the one has taken an interest into rock climbing. So I've tried it. I can say that.
Okay.
Once. You can learn a lot by just watching, and you can pick up some techniques, and it's actually quite an exciting sport.
What was the most challenging aspect as someone who's never done it, who went to do it the first time? Was it the physical part or was it the mental part?
For me, it was the mental part because I always thought I don't have a lot of upper body strength. Like I was never one of those kids on the monkey bars. Couldn't do it. Always wanted to do that thing where you go down the pole.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
No, not that kind of pole. The one like the fire brigade has. Okay. So I wanted to do that. But all the other kids could do it, but I don't have the arm strength to do it. So,
yeah, I understand.
So it was mental. It was the mental aspect for me. But once you try it and you go, oh, hang on, you use other parts of your body too, which might have more strength.
Yes. It's about the climb. I don't want to push Miley Cyrus too much.
Okay.
But I think that's the thing. When you get on top, it's probably really rewarding, that feeling of, man, I didn't think I could do it for a second there. I'm tired. My muscles are aching. But here I am on the top, and I did it.
That must be it.
Yeah, I think it must be. But we're going to find out because we have a pro, like every episode. We don't know much, but we do have someone who can inform you.
Sounds good.
Experience the best in hiking, camping, cooking, off-road, and outdoor games just for you. Our rewards members enjoy an exclusive discount on festive gear and apparel. Not a member yet? Sign up in-store or online today. Unwrap the spirit of adventure. Visit Outdoor Warehouse and make this festive season an epic adventure while stocks last. T's and C's apply. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. For every adventure. The official Outdoor Warehouse podcast that brings you everything you need to know for your next adventure.
We are very excited. We did not hit a wall. We are ready to climb that wall. And to help us along the way, we have Kuba. How are you?
Truly good. Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it's not only a wall, Kyle. Like, we're going to climb mountains after this.
Mountains, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a mountain, right? Yeah, and the mountain happens to have a wall on it, maybe.
Yeah, and what makes this fun, it's literally and figuratively something for you to conquer. And I guess that's one of the greatest rewards you get when you actually get to conquer this challenge in front of you. But we'll get to all those aspects. First off, what is rock climbing?
So rock climbing, there's lots of facets to it. So it could literally be what they call bouldering, where there are big rocks which you climb and you're not even tied on or anything, and there's a mattress at the bottom that you can pretty much bounce off.
Not for me.
And it sort of escalates to being a cliff as a part of the mountain, and that's what you go up if you want to.
When did you start your rock climbing journey, and how did you get into it?
So I was about 15 at the time.
Okay.
And part of a scout group. Scout leaders were doing the climbing, and there was a Scout Mountain Club. And that progressed on to the Mountain Club of South Africa. And yeah, they used to have training, what they call meets, where people get together and training climbs and doing simple climbs. And so you get more and more involved if you get into it.
So when you started out, was it about the challenge, or did you immediately see, look, I've got a knack for this? Or was it just because you liked it?
I think it was many things. The challenge to definitely, that's a big thing.
Okay.
But also to be out on the mountain, be out in the open, and with a bunch of mates.
Sounds good, hey?
Okay, and is that a good place to start if you are maybe a bit younger or not? I think anybody at any age can probably get into it, but is that the best way to start, to join a club?
Yeah, I think nowadays it's a lot easier because you have got climbing gyms, and climbing in gyms has become a sport actually, and actually is an Olympic sport now. And that's become a whole separate facet nearly of climbing. There are people who are very good in sports gyms, rock climbing gyms, but are absolutely useless when they actually get onto the mountain because it's just too much around them.
What are the big differences between those two?
Inside a gym, you haven't got wind, you haven't got sun, you've got a controlled temperature, and it's a relatively small wall compared to a big mountain.
Also, I mean, I must just think, because they mark out the route for you, or even though it could be difficult, you can see you going up green, so you kind of know where to follow. Whereas outside, you have no idea what that rock looks like.
Absolutely, you have no idea. And if you opening up a climb, which means it's a climb which is being done for the first time,
Sure.
You actually have to look for where you can put a foot, where you can put a grip, where you can put in a safety to tie yourself on. So big difference. And as well, in a rock climbing gym, you get out your car, you walk into the gym, and you're there. On many climbs, you spend a whole day walking up a mountain to get to a climb.
Okay.
And then you need a whole day to get back. So big difference.
Yeah, our copywriter / director of the podcast is very, very big into rock climbing. And she made a good point when we were chatting earlier. She mentioned it's like problem solving. And you need to find a solution. So here's the rock or the mountain or anything in front of you, and you need to solve this problem.
Absolutely, very much so. And often, so if you're opening up a new climb for the first time, that's completely new territory. No one's climbed it. If you're doing a existing route, they're called routes, then you actually have a write-up, which tells you, start off at this point and you go up this crack and you go across that little ledge and go through that little roof. So everything is written down. But even then, you still have to, that's just an interpretation of someone who's done it before. You've got to now go and actually see if you can do it. And for instance, you would use far less holes and so on because you're taller. And a shorter person, you actually need a lot more holes.
That makes sense.
That's very interesting. I'm already starting to see a challenge for myself. Okay. I think you could be like all going for it, and then at some point just can't find that little nook and you start panicking. So is that it's sort of a mental challenge as well?
It's a huge mental challenge. And if you sort of look up some of the famous climbs that people have done, where there's one section which they sort of try and do and they fall off. But they're on a rope, so they swing down and they go back and they try again and they try again and eventually make it. So, and that's a huge sense of achievement.
Wow.
And sometimes you don't, and you've got to go back down again.
Yeah, but that makes you better.
Yeah.
It's always good to fail, I think, because you learn from it. And I think what makes rock climbing special, as we mentioned now, the physical and the mental, the combination of those two. And then within the mental, it's probably a fear of falling. I mean, you need to trust your gear, but it's also the focus you need to maintain right through.
I wonder if, people with a fear of heights, they probably don't. Or have you ever met anyone that try to conquer that fear?
I have met many people like that, actually.
Okay.
And often it's a mental thing. Most often it's a mental thing. And then all of a sudden they realize, I can actually do this.
Wow.
And it's actually great to see. But even the best climbers, all climbers do have a respect for life preservation, not wanting to fall. But
Good
you've got many other things which are sort of against you. Rock falls. All of a sudden rocks come tumbling down. The weather comes in, and you get caught out on a rock face. And even on a difficult climb, on some days it's sort of just not your day, and you end up there with your leg shaking away.
That's me when I come up the stairs. Yeah. Not really, I swear.
And any incidents with wildlife?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I was once doing a very simple little climb, and I sort of pulled up onto a ledge, and there was a cobra looking at me.
No.
And there was this decision, do I stay still? It's a bit too far to jump.
That's so scary.
And the cobra decided to move away.
There we go. There we go.
It's like, you can have this rock, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would like to, let's say Chanel is the subject here. She needs to get into rock climbing because she's going to climb with her son. First of all, anyone, not specifically you, but from a training perspective, what do you need to work on? Chanel needs to do a few pull-ups. Is that a good start? Upper body strength.
Even straight push-ups are good, and then doing push-ups on your fingers, not on your hands.
Okay.
But for real?
Hand strength.
But where you use opposing muscle force, even that, just to pull and strength, because you do need finger strength, and the more difficult the climbs become, the more finger strength you require. And there's all sorts of little training things now which you can put up in a doorway and just pull yourself up on your fingers. And so on. But you need general fitness too. So jogging, running, swimming.
Okay.
Lots of climbers do yoga and so on, just to remain supple, to be able to lift your leg above your head and crazy things like that.
Totally out.
Just there.
Okay.
Pilates, all of those sort of things.
Okay.
So it's a very holistic, general sort of thing. It's
awesome. So Chanel is now physically ready. I think in a while we'll go to Outdoor Warehouse and pick a few products, so stay tuned for that. For now, let's chat about belaying. What is belaying and how does it work?
So belaying is part of the safety aspect.
Okay.
So there's two forms of belaying. So the leader who is leading the climb, as he starts climbing up, will put out safety gear through which he will put his rope. And then someone below is feeding that rope out. So if that leader falls, he'll only fall as far as the safety and the bit of rope that's extended before he gets to the next safety where he's clipped in his rope.
Okay.
So that's belaying a leader. But the person belaying him also actually needs to be tied onto a cliff, particularly if the leader is heavier than he is, because otherwise he will just end up pulling and you'll both meet halfway up, hopefully.
Hopefully.
It's a really technical sport, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
But I think there's still an aspect of it where you can just do it for fun, right?
Yeah, but to do it for fun, you've got to be safe. So you've got to think safety all the time.
Okay.
And then the other form of belaying is now the leader has got up to what's called a stance, where he can tie himself onto the cliff. And then the person below comes up to him.
Okay.
So the person at the bottom is now tied on, and he will say, ready to climb, or on belay, ready to climb. And the person belaying him up will say, climb. And then as he climbs up, he takes in the rope.
Yeah.
And ready at any time to actually hold that rope in case a person slips or falls.
I must say, I've seen how important the belayer, if that's a word, is, because that person, even just on climbing a wall, they had to have skill and to see when that guy's going to slip and fall, and then they sort of push themselves up a little bit so that that person doesn't, not fall to the ground, but like hit the wall too hard.
Absolutely.
So there's skill to that as well.
And as well, the person climbing, so the leader's got to that point where he's tied on, where he's belaying you, and you might find that you're really battling through one little section, and you may shout up, tight rope. So then the belayer is even more ready to arrest your fall.
Sort of on standby.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Are there people that specifically just do belaying because that's what they love? Or is it generally climbers that just help people, other people?
So it's climbers. You're working as a team.
Okay.
And there are definitely people who are better at belaying than others.
Okay.
Sometimes a belayer sort of gets distracted by something, and the next thing you've got this big loop of rope hanging below you, and you think, well, if I fall now, I'm going to fall that extra bit. And is he actually holding it? So, yeah.
Okay.
How much prep does this involve? Let's chat about like a one-day outing versus a multi-day excursion.
So, yeah, the first prep is what route are you going to climb?
Do you have a favorite route?
Do you have favorite routes? I would say more favorite mountains and actual favorite routes. But yeah, there are some routes which are sort of iconic, classic routes, like Arrow Final below the cableway.
Okay.
Climbing with a whole town below you, cable car coming over you.
Wow.
So yeah, that's sort of are the classical routes, but it's more mountain areas, and so on. But yeah, so you've got to decide where you're going. Are you doing a climb which has already been climbed? Are you doing a climb which you're doing for the first time but has already been climbed? Or are you opening up a new route on a new mountain crag, as they call it in the classics?
Okay, and then I guess when you're prepping for a multi-day hike, the big challenge is choosing what you take with you, because weight is obviously going to have an impact.
Absolutely. Weight is huge, but yeah, what you're going to take. So Outer Warehouse has got the full range of equipment. And also the important thing is, it's not only the windproof rain jacket, correct shoes, correct climbing gear, but also food. And Outer Warehouse also has a great selection of freeze-dried foods and so on. And that's where you can save a lot of weight. You can have a fully cooked meal where you just add boiling water to it and you have a great meal.
And another part of it, obviously, is the environmental part, because you don't want to leave a footprint where you go, right?
No, absolutely. You don't want to leave a footprint, and the only thing you want to take away is a photograph. And, or anything you've taken with it, you take it off the mountain, or your rubbish, your cans, your food packets, your sweet wrappers. But yeah, everything must go back. And that's a big problem all over the world. Right through to the major Himalayan climbs where for years I've been leaving their oxygen bottles and tents and stuff.
That's terrible, yeah. But I mean, I'm sorry, I have to try and understand this. So you're going on this multi-day climb. Are you physically having to now with your backpack do this climb? Or was it mostly like hiking to a spot and doing a climb and then you sort of carry your bags further?
So, it could be a multi-day climb where you're actually sleeping on the face.
Wow.
And in that case, you have a haul bag which has your kit in it. And once you get to a safe spot where you can tie yourself on and there's a bit of a ledge or something, then you haul the bag up with all the kit.
Oh, okay. There are ways.
But that also takes a lot of energy. Yeah, it's not pulling a 30 kilos, but much. So say a 25 kilo bag up a couple of 100 meters in a day. That also burns up a lot of energy. So, and that's where in your whole planning you've got to plan. Are the people you've got on the trip strong enough? Are you able to manage those people? Okay. Are you able to do all that heavy physical work apart from just the climbing?
Wow.
I think tell us a bit about the different climbing spots in South Africa and the different challenges they present.
Gosh, the old classic world in one country.
Yeah.
So, mountains are made of different kinds of rock. And even here in the Western Cape, you've got in Paarl, you've got the Paarl rock, big granite outcrops, which have got tiny little holes in them and are very rough. And the old classic saying is, if you slip and fall there, you'll end up looking like a grated carrot by the time you get to the bottom.
No. Doesn't sound like a fun afternoon.
Not at all.
To Table Mountain, which is Table Mountain sandstone. To some parts shale, which is very soft. So that's sort of very broadly your Cape Mountains. Then carrying on to the Drakensberg, where the rock, difficult to say exactly, but the easy way we would say it's rotten, so you can literally pull out a hole, have a look at it, and put it back and pull on a tuft of grass. Oh. So the rock is very soft and loose and so on. And then, but there is a lot of climbing in the Drakensberg and some great climbs as well. And the challenge too that it's sort of, that's our most altitude kind of climbing really, because the higher you get, the less oxygen there is and the harder it is.
I see.
And in Namibia, it's a classic climb. There's a Spitskopper, which is a huge rock outcrop, just sticking up into the sky, with lots of roots on it too. But again, it's not much water, very dry, very hot in the day, very cold at night. So, that's very much in a nutshell, or a very basic sort of look at it. But each area has got its own kind of rock and kind of challenges that go with that rock.
Is there a specific place in South Africa that climbers aspire to do? Like that thing that I still need to do on my bucket list?
So Table Mountain is very much one of those, and not only for South Africans, but from people from all over the world.
Okay.
And for South African climbers, up north, there's a place called Waterval-Boven, where there's lots of sports climbing, but not in a gym, but on relatively lower cliffs and relatively easily accessible. So you're not spending a whole day or days walking in to get to the mountain. You can literally drive up and can climb right there. And in the Toits Kloof also, there's an area ccalled Hellfire. Then
that sounds inviting.
Then in the Cedarburg too. So lots of areas. So you'll never run out of mountains to climb.
Yeah. So Kyle, I take it you're ready to take on this new sport.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I think we should ask Kuba. Yes, I am actually.
Okay, fantastic. But I need a few tips, you know that.
Yes.
I'm an absolute amateur, Kuba.
Like
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. He needs to go out and touch a rock for the first time. Like, what does he need to do? Can you help us from the very beginning?
Right. So you're at an advantage already because it's not your mother bringing you along saying that you're going to be a climber and that you're going to be living her dream. So, the best is not to rush out and buy all the equipment to look cool and good. The thing is, go to a climbing gym and they have got very good people at the climbing gyms and tell them you're an absolute beginner and you want to try it out. And when you try it out, then you'll see, oh, this is terrible. I hate every moment of it.
Fantastic.
I don't want to do this. Oh, man, this is so cool.
Okay.
And, man, look at the fantastic people, the whole vibe. Because it's a whole holistic approach. It's not just about climbing. It's a whole vibe around it, the lifestyle. So, yeah, you do need equipment. And you can hire pretty much everything at a climbing gym, but it's much nicer having your own shoes and using someone else's shoes.
Yes.
The shoes make a big difference. I mean, as opposed to, I was climbing with my sneakers, and my youngest said he's going to do the shoe thing. He wants the shoes, and I actually gave him a pair that's a bit too small, so it's really tight. And it was amazing just to see how the shoes helped already. So I think sometimes these little things, if you try, it can actually help you love it more in the beginning, especially when it's hard.
Yeah, and you know, with any sport, with youngsters, whatever you buy only lasts a couple of months because of an outgrowth.
Yeah, true.
And climbing shoes make a huge difference. They've got a solid sole. The sole has got grip. It just straight rubber, not any little groovy things or anything like that. Yeah, and they are very tight on your feet, so that you can get into little cracks and grooves or stand on a tiny little edge. So, yeah, shoes definitely do help. But particularly with youngsters, I always say, you know, first try out and do use shoes you can maybe borrow from someone or at the gym. Because equipment is expensive. And Outdoor Warehouse certainly helps with that their things are pretty well priced. But nonetheless, you don't need to go and buy a whole pile of equipment straight away and to be able to start.
Yes.
And then evolve your equipment as you evolve in the sport. And certainly having your own harness is also nice because you have it set to your body size.
Okay.
You don't have to reset it each time. And also get advice on what equipment to actually buy, you know, what harness do I need for the type of climbing I'm doing. And then with that, if you've got confident in the gym and now you get invited by someone to go up a real mountain, and then you need the right clothing to go with it because you can get very burnt up in the sun, you can get very cold in the wind, very wet in the rain, and again, go to Outdoor Warehouse.
Now, going from an indoor climb to an outdoor climb, any extra tips you have?
Yeah, so generally, certainly I wouldn't go and buy a book and go on my own with no one who knows even where the climbs start or where the routes are.
Yes.
And it does happen. You do get people who are like that. So as a youngster, many schools have got outdoor clubs as well, where a teacher is a climber and takes out groups of kids climbing. There's mountain clubs, there's outdoor clubs, there's scout movement, all sorts of things like that. So you need to go with someone who's got experience and can point you in the right direction and show you the correct way of behaving out in the outdoors.
I think generally, rule of thumb, safety first across the board, eh?
Absolutely.
So you've been doing this for 60 years, you mentioned, right?
Yeah, pretty 55 years. 55 years.
Let's go with 55 years. So is there internationally or locally, but is there a dream destination you still want to go to do a climb?
Yeah, I think the day that you stop having dreams, it's a bad day. So you've got to have all those dreams. And I think the Himalayas is definitely one of the major climbing areas in the world with incredible climbing and very difficult climbing. But then there's also South America, Patagonia, and so on. So, there's lots of dreams still.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I think with the experience, you've seen a lot, you've done a lot of climbing. Do you have any memorable stories to share? It could be heartwarming or it could be scary. Or
Not
whatever.
involving cobras.
Yes. No, it can. It can.
Yeah, there have been some. Pretty much every climb is an epic. Is an amazing thing. Just after you do it or while you're doing it. But there's one memorable one which I have, which we were doing a climb in Cederberg, on Cederberg Tafelberg, called Thread and Needle.
Okay.
And we sort of knew that there might be a bit of thunder type weather, which isn't that normal in the Cape here, really. And my goodness, in the afternoon, all of a sudden, the clouds came in, the thunder and the rain, and we realized we're in trouble. We actually can't make it down. And we're not going to get to the end of the climb either. We can't make it up in this weather. But there was a lovely little ledge that we could sit on. So we thought, it will be an hour or two, the rain will pass, and then we can abseil down. That's a method of going down a rope to get off a mountain.
Okay.
Anyway, that hour or two became an hour 5 and so on. And eventually we realized we're stuck here for the night.
Wow. Were you prepared for that?
We weren't at all.
Fantastic.
But we did have a little gas cooker, and we had a little...
There you go.
With all the rain now, we had some water coming off the rock. And one of the guys had a whole tin of coffee, and not even real coffee. And between 5 of us, we drank 120-odd cups of coffee.
Wow.
And then we sort of were dozing and waking and dozing, and then the sun came out, taking far longer than one ever expected. Because now you're really cold, you're wet, you're tired, and you're shaking from all the coffee you had. And all of a sudden the sun came out, and we abseiled down. And I remember I was a passenger in a car, and I remember thinking, why am I sweating? Why are my hands shaking? And since then, I haven't drunk coffee.
Okay.
That was it.
So that was certainly a memorable climbing experience.
When did this happen? Were there cell phones? Were you
No.
able to call loved ones and say, listen, not coming home tonight?
No, there were no cell phones. We had well-trained parents who knew, well, they'll be fine, don't worry.
They'll rock up eventually.
No, that's a different time. I think if that happened today, can you imagine?
Oh, no, it's completely, I'm involved in mountain rescue now. The cell phones are going, and people think, well, I'm a bit tired. Maybe I can get the helicopter to come fetch me. Then you all of a sudden realize it's the same person who's been rescued 3 times in 1 year already.
Oh, no.
With a helicopter coming to fetch him. So, cell phones can be good, can be bad.
Dis alweer Pieter, los hom, hy's fine.
Yeah.
Leave him.
So you're also involved in the rescue efforts. That's quite interesting. Does it happen quite often, or is it every now and again?
It's the same person 3 times a year.
So, certainly the amount of search and rescues have gone up immensely. And there's an organization now called WASA, Wilderness Search and Rescue, which is comprised of a whole lot of different organizations, from the Mountain Club to National Sea Rescue to Search Dogs to Metro, and it actually all falls under the auspices of Metro.
Oh, okay.
So that's a very good number to have on you, that if you do get into trouble, give Metro a call. And they then do the whole planning of, well, do you need to be rescued? Do you need a whole party of rescuers to come fetch you? Do you need maybe just 1 or 2 people to come up and guide you down if you're lost?
I see, okay.
Or if you're injured, is there, will a paramedic be fine, or do you need a doctor on site as well? So, it is quite an involved thing, and we're very fortunate in the Cape to have an organization like Metro to have the Air Mercy helicopter, which is absolutely magnificent in the way that they fly. And in fact, those pilots are the people who are the champions, because they actually can fly a paramedic into very difficult flying conditions, get the paramedic or the doctor to the patient.
So, I mean, the goal is not to get there, right?
Goal is not to get there, absolutely.
Do you have any tips for people not to get into those sticky situations? Although you want to stick rather than fall. But could you just maybe give a few tips?
Yeah, so firstly, have someone know where you're going.
Okay.
And have someone know when you're due back. And that person should also know your experience level. So if you're not back at 6 o'clock at night and it's now 7 o'clock, if that person knows you well and the weather's fine, they'll say, no, it's fine, leave him. He'll come back.
Yeah.
And the sort of traditional saying is, we'll wait till 11 the next morning. If they're not back by then we'll see. And pretty much in these our mountains here, if you with a group in the mountains, the whole group won't fall off the mountain. That just doesn't happen. But with leaving the information, it's very important that that information is correct. About 3 weeks ago, we had the case where there was a report that a whole group, is 36 hours overdue.
Oh, dear.
Wow.
And that was as a result of that where the people parked their motor cars, there was a book which you had to fill in. When are you due back? Or when are you due out? And the people were staying in the first night in a mountain hut, and they thought that they just need to put down when they're leaving the mountain hut. But they carried on doing a whole different trip, which was in their plan.
Okay.
And some of the group knew that it was, and the people in the group weren't at all worried. But someone saw in the book, gosh, their cars are still here, and they said that they were supposed to be out 36 hours ago. And that got a whole rescue exercise going.
Oh, no.
And that was a Sunday night now, and the weather was going to be coming in the next day, so plans were already being made to get a helicopters ready and all sorts of things. So yeah, just a simple little error like that can throw everything out.
Can you imagine the frustration from search and rescue, finding these people, they're like, hey,
happy.
we're good, we're happy.
Yeah.
Thinking to yourself, you made me miss carte blanche for this.
Oh, no.
No, and it does happen, and also, some people don't want to be found, and you spend a whole night walking around the mountain looking for them, and they never even went up the mountain, and they were there with another girlfriend that nobody else knew about.
That's the thing. The lying comes in.
Yeah.
I think there will probably be people, because it's such an awesome experience being in nature and then by yourself. So they go soul searching on their own. And I think that's probably also where some issues may arise. You think you can do this route, but it's really, not in your makeup yet. Do you find that a lot, that people go solo and then land in trouble?
So there are people who do go solo, and normally those people are quite well prepared.
Okay.
In pretty much anywhere where you need to get a permit, so Cape Natureland, Parks Board, you actually, minimum group size is 3 people, so you're not allowed to go on your own. But nonetheless, it does happen. And certainly with cell phones now, yes, people do call in, and that's why I said, have that number.
Yes.
And certainly from the search and rescue side, we prefer going to straight away initiate a rescue process in waiting and finding out that the situation escalates.
Let's say you've bitten off a bit more than you can chew. You've decided to go on a solo excursion and you are in trouble. What are a few key things to keep in mind? I mean, staying calm was probably top of the list.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good stay calm, assess the situation, can you extricate yourself, or do you need help? And don't let pride get in the way. If you do need help, do call for help. And there are people, more than enough experienced people to come and help you.
Awesome.
Gear up for the perfect adventure with the largest range of adventure gear in South Africa. You can find anything from tents, gazebos, cookware and mobile refrigeration to clothing, lighting and smart devices. Everything you need under one roof. Download our handy packing list online or browse our expert advice articles to get you ready for your next adventure. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. Also buy online.
For every adventure podcast, bringing you all the tips and tricks for your next adventure.
So we've decided that we like rock climbing. Step 1 is done. We've gotten a lot of info about how to do it. We've tried a bit of practice here and there. And I think we are ready to go to Outdoor Warehouse now to pick up a few things to really start this adventure.
Oh, we need some gear before we go off. Kuba, what would you say is the number one thing you need to get first?
So I think if you're going to be doing rock climbing or sports climbing, definitely a harness.
Okay. Yeah, check.
And so, and there's different types of harnesses. And probably by now you would have tried out other people's harnesses or at a climbing gym and take a harness that you're comfortable in. But also making sure that it's actually quality. And I think if you're buying from Outdoor Warehouse, you're pretty sure you are buying quality.
Yeah, you can look at the Singing Rock Rob harness. It looks
Singing Rock.
Singing Rock.
That sounds good.
Singing Rock Rob harness is the one I have in front of me.
And I suppose it's all about comfort and which ones you prefer.
Yeah, and not just comfort of wearing it, but maybe on in the climbing gym, when you're a little way up, just let go and see how comfortable it is to actually hang in that harness.
You need to hang around first, just to sort of get the scope of the vibe. And obviously good shoes, huh?
And yeah, the right kind of shoes. So just for climbing, there are the various kinds of climbing shoes, which are very tight around your foot so that you can really get into little cracks and grooves and so on. And they have soft, solid rubber, so no little grooves or little anti-skid things. It's just as much rubber on the rock as possible. And it's a rigid shoe too, so you can literally stand on the edge of a little hold, and the shoe supports your whole foot, your whole body.
Yeah, go check out the Black Diamond Momentum climbing shoes. Just one of the options you have over at Outdoor Warehouse.
Is there a rule to it that you need to take like a smaller size, or is it made to be tight?
Again, it's made to be tight. But I know personally that I have a very wide foot, so it's actually quite difficult to get the right size one. And you don't want one where you've got a whole lot of shoe in front of your toes still, because very often you're literally just on the front of your foot.
Ballerina vibes.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else to add to the list?
You know what? I saw the kids loved their chalk bag. They would not do the wall without a chalk bag. And I was wondering if that's also needed when you climb outside.
So, what is the purpose of the chalk bag? Let's look at that. So the idea of a chalk bag is that's hanging off your harness, and you dip your hand into chalk because at times you really are sweating. So you want a dry hand to be able to get a grip on the mountain. Okay. You don't want to have your hand slipping and sliding.
If you want to talk the talk, you've got to walk the chalk. That's 10 out of 10, guys.
10 out of 10.
Thank you.
But and again, you you want one that your hand can fit into easily and so on. And again, there's a selection online that you can buy.
Okay.
But also very important, which we haven't mentioned at all, is a hard hat, a climbing helmet.
Okay.
Yes.
And so in a gym, you don't need a climbing helmet. But once you're out in the open, you really, it's like mountain biking. You really are not very clever going without a helmet.
Okay.
Because even a little pebble the size of a 50-cent coin dropping off from 20 meters above you, if that hits you on your head, it will do damage to you.
I think the indoor climbing walls should prep climbers for this. Have a guy just stand at the top and just drop little rocks down to make sure that they're prepared for the outdoors. It's still a controlled environment.
And also when you're doing sort of big wall climbing and you do slip and take a fall, even though you're on a rope, but you might spin around and fly back in towards the mountain and hit your head. So, climbing helmet is absolute must,
Kuba, thanks a lot for the chat. I think we learned a lot, and I want to encourage everyone listening, as we do almost every episode, find something for yourself outdoors. Rock climbing, a fantastic option.
It's definitely an option. Look, I feel like we've covered everything, even the dangers. You've really given us a very good idea of the sport. And I think it's that challenge and that little bit of danger that actually draws me to it. Like, I'd really like to try this.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kuba.
Well, that's it. That's the last one for 2023. Huh?
I'm definitely feeling more adventurous than you, Carl.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
I am ready to go climb, to go hike, to go camp, and the other 9 or 10 episodes we recorded. It was a fun experience so far, and we're back in the start of 2024.
Early in the new year,
Yes, new content, new adventures for you to join us on, and we can't wait.
Yeah, thanks to everyone that's come on this journey with us. And then to Outdoor Warehouse, that's always there for every adventure.
Of course. Thanks a lot, Outdoor Warehouse. You can find us on Spotify and Apple every 2 weeks. But we're going to take a little bit of a break after this episode, but we'll keep you up to date. Make sure to check out the social media, Outdoor Warehouse, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever you prefer. And Happy New Year and Merry Christmas and all those wonderful things.
Join the For Every Adventure podcast as we explore the great outdoors.